Hello and welcome back to Continental Club. Yes, we are back in the East Dulwich Tavern. It's been we're trying to work it out, maybe about 2 months. Basically, we've all been on holiday at different times, so we've had an array of wonderful guests, but it is great to be back in the EDT with Henry and McCubs. Henri, how are you doing?
Yeah,
good to be back.
Great, thank you. Great to see you two. Great to be back in the East Dulwich Tavern. As you said, I think we've had some brilliant guests from all over Europe, great expertise, and yeah, so thank you to everyone if they're still watching. I assume they are. But yeah, no, it's good to be back, and I mean, it's the transfer window that keeps on giving as well, so plenty more to talk about as per.
Absolutely. McCubs, a chaotic few weeks in the transfer window. Forest splashing the cash.
Oh yeah.
Man United going for everyone under the sun, which we will get onto in due course. Mental.
Yeah, I mean, it's
seen it all,
kicked
right?
off everywhere, hasn't it? Yeah, I mean, Barcelona as well. Let's not forget,
Yeah.
managed to get get everyone registered as well just in time. Yeah, it's been a pretty mad window. Although I still do think it is again, it's one of those ones where it's like the gap in wealth between the Premier League and everywhere else is so it is so prominent. But having said that, I do actually really like what Forest have done, to be honest. Like, to see a team just come and actually like just pick up loads of like players that I really like is just great.
If they spend 44 million on Morgan Gibbs-White though, slightly losing the plot a little
Maybe,
bit.
I don't know. This is the weird thing with Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't feel like I've actually watched him play much in the last 2 years, but I've not. Whenever he comes up in conversation, I never hear anything positive, and I don't know why that is. Like, he's not a bad player, is he? Like, I mean, he's not 44 million. I definitely agree with that. But
people were being a bit cheeky about the reporting of it as well, because I saw David Ornstein then say it's 25 million with add-ons, but he did initial go for the add-ons, which is what everyone reacted to. But yeah, you don't always talk about the add-ons. Like Erling Haaland with add-ons is quite a bit more than the sort of 55 that everyone quotes. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, let's put Nottingham Forest aside and delve into some European deals that we think could potentially transform clubs, or at least do a good effort of it. And the one we want to kick off with today is one that I didn't think we'd ever be talking about on Continental Club. It's Casemiro to Man United. It's been the talk of the week. By the time this video goes live tomorrow afternoon, so Friday for you guys, there might well be more information, but we can only go off what we've got right now. And at Welshahalcat even wanted us to talk about Casemiro. I think I butchered your name there. Anyway, McCubs, what do you make of this? Because on the one hand, you know, great player, great experience, you know, so much quality, but probably not the right age profile. And do you think he's the right fit for Man United? I mean, what are your thoughts on this whole crazy saga?
yeah, I mean, I think we should probably look at this from a Real Madrid perspective as well as you know, as this is EFD, because first of all, Casemiro has been an amazing player for Real Madrid for a number of years. Obviously, has he won five Champions Leagues with them? You know, was initially that kind of like the one kind of non-glamorous player in that first kind of great team of the 2010s, and you know, has kind of, you know, over the years become more and more important to that side, and you know, the fact that, you know, he's kind of held his own in the midfield with Modric and Kroos, and at times been more important than both of those players, I think speaks volumes about. Yeah, I think he's a really, really good footballer, and a midfielder who's been able to adapt to different systems at the Bernabeu. So, like, I think, yeah, before we go anywhere with that, I think we do have to give him a lot of credit. But equally, if United are offering, you know, 60 to 70 million, as journalists like Andy Mitten are claiming, then Real Madrid just have to go for it, don't they? I think this would be an amazing sell for them. And yeah, it's just perfect, because 2 years ago, I don't think Real Madrid fans would have been really scared at letting Casemiro go. But like, now they've got obviously Camavinga in, they've got Tchouaméni to join him this year. They've got two players who, I mean, Camavinga can play that role. Tchouaméni, I think, is almost born to play that role. They've got two players who can fill in there, and I don't think they, you know, I think ideally it'll be Tchouaméni holding and Camavinga going further forward in the long term. But yeah, they finally kind of have regenerated that midfield, and just in time for Casemiro, who's the only kind of decently aged player in there who still has sell-on value clearly, although no one would expect 60 million at this point. He's come at the perfect time. So yeah, I think Real Madrid if they're being offered this kind of money, have to take it. I mean, they can just reinvest that.
Bellingham.
I mean, yeah, potentially. Or reinvest it elsewhere. Benzema replacement, whoever that may be. Obviously they couldn't land Mbappe, but yeah, there's so much they can do there for a club that's has, I think, been quite fortunate in the way that it kind of shifted its transfer policy in recent years, considering COVID and everything. Like Real Madrid have obviously come out in a pretty good financial state. So they definitely have to take the money. As for United, who knows? Who knows what Casemiro will bring to this United side? I think it's always a bit of an unknown, but at the same time, like he's clearly a much better midfielder than anyone the club have at this moment in time. I think in terms of a technical operator, you could probably only Eriksen could be compared to him in the kind of general midfield area at United. Defensively, he is excellent. He's a really intelligent player. He's spent years covering for kind of more expansive, more attacking players. He's also a good presser. Like, he does like to push forward at points. In terms, I think, was it last year or the year before, where he was being used as the kind of main presser in the midfield. So he was actually getting into the final third, making quite a lot of pressure on the final third. So like, he has a lot to his game in that sense, and you would hope that under someone like Erik ten Hag, he will be used effectively. The problem is, of course, that he's coming into a midfield that has not functioned particularly well, at least on a consistent basis, for God knows how long, 4 or 5 years. So
I was going to say longer.
Yeah, potentially longer. Like my memory just doesn't say. I can't accurately depict what was going on 6 years ago, but it probably wasn't great. So yeah, I think that's always the worry, and also the worry is, that United are potentially, stumping up like £300,000 a week wages potentially, depending on who you believe, over what could be like a 4 or 5 year contract, and it's just like, this just screams to me like, another Alexis Sanchez style situation where it's like the wage bill becomes incredibly inflated again, and the club's transfer business is kind of hamstrung by that. I know Ronaldo is probably going to be gone, maybe even in the next couple of weeks, if not next summer. And obviously that takes a fair amount off, but it's not good squad building, is it? It's not good squad building. It's short-term thinking. It's two games into the season, and things aren't working clearly. But it is only 2 games into this manager's tenure, and suddenly everyone's at panic stations. The fans are up in arms. It's classic Man United, isn't it? It's classic Man United. It reminds me of 2014 when we went from Fabregas to Fellaini. It genuinely feels like that. It feels like the club has actually regressed again back to that kind of thinking in the transfer market. So yeah,
it's a very good point about the sort of panic, because if you'd got 6 points from 6 at the start of this season, there's no way you'd be looking at Casemiro right now, or spending £60 million on a plus 30-year-old. So it is just complete panic. Do I like it more than Rabiot? Absolutely. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, again, excellent player, not what United need. Frankie de Jong just looks impossible. So I do think it's a really good alternative. I'm still quite sceptical about the fact that this is even going to be done, Henry. Like, surely for Casemiro, I know the wages are ridiculous, but you've just won the Champions League with Real Madrid.
I mean, it's the only reason he'd be going, is for money. He's leaving probably the most prestigious club in the world, where he's loved and adored. Success comes fairly natural to them. He'll be coming into a hurricane in opposite respects, and at this point in his career, does he need to be in sort of a 7-horse race for Champions League spots every year? Probably not, but at the same time, if they're waving a big load of cash in his face, and that's probably the great incentive. And as you said, there could be speculation that he's just using this as a way to get a new deal. I think he only signed a sort of extension last year, so it's not as if this was high on Real Madrid's priority, but to look at the positives, I think if they do bring him in, I'll be interested to see if this is like a move towards a 4-3-3, which is normally what Ajax actually played as a general system. I know it kind of fluctuated a little bit, and if you look back at previous team sheets of Ten Hag's Ajax, it was in 2-3-1, etc. But he does normally go for the 4-3-3. And if they got him in the holding role at the base of the midfield, then I think United should then look for another box-to-box midfielder to sort of complement that on either side, which makes me wonder why they've missed out on people like Vitinha and maybe Fabio Vieira that went to Arsenal, etc. These are the kind of level of midfielders they should be looking to get in as well, rather than embarrassing themselves with these kind of big high-profile hunts. So if they can make this happen, then I think it's an exciting development for the midfield. But as you say, I'm quite sceptical that this will really see the sign of the dotted line, because beyond money, I'm not sure what's in it for Casemiro.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether it sort of leads to better performances for Fred as well. He's performed really well alongside Casemiro for Brazil in the past, and I do think he's got his uses, Fred. Like, he's quite a chaotic player. He's not really someone that's going to link play from midfield, from defence to midfield that effectively, but he can press pretty high, and he does have outstanding games from time to time as well. I just slightly worry for Casemiro that he's coming into a scenario where he's viewed as a sort of white knight that's going to fix all United's problems. And actually, I know for years we've talked about, central midfield, but there's serious issues at striker. There's no right backs there. You've got a goalkeeper that can't pass. So the idea that Casemiro instantly goes into this United side and suddenly they're going to look like top 4 certainties, I think is a real long shot. So I feel sorry for him in that respect. But having said that, I've always advocated that they need an out-and-out DM. Even this summer, I thought that was the best idea. And Casemiro is a pretty good one. So if they can keep him fit, at least in the short term for the next 2 years, I do think you see an upturn in United's performances. But it's definitely not an instant fix. So that's our thoughts on Casemiro. Of course, by the time this video goes live, it might be a totally different scenario. Maybe he's even rejected them by now. But at least we'll know, the logic hopefully still stands. Anyway, let's move on to Tanguy Ndombele, because this is a move that is going to be completed on a loan move to Napoli, and this came in from @Blazer Stakes. What do you make of this one, Henry?
I like it. I think it's a good deal all round. €1 million sort of loan fee, €30 million option to buy. You never know if Napoli, whether or not that will be activated, come and push the shove, but still gets a bit of money back for Spurs in the short term, and I think this is a great opportunity. This is exactly the kind of club he needs, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week. I don't think he's a Fabian Ruiz replacement in any sense. His numbers, if you even look at Lyon last season, 0 goals, 2 assists. Mainly, his best work is as a ball winner and then progressing the ball out through play and maybe trying to release some of a pass. I think that's where he really is quite effective. But if you look at the way that Napoli started this weekend, unbelievable form, 5-2 victory, scoring some great goals. Like Lobotka, etc., popping up with finishes. And that's where I think the competition is going to be really interesting. And I think it's clear that sort of defence has been weakened by the loss of Koulibaly. Trying to shore up the midfield by getting a few more defensive-minded players in there, and Guisa as well. Let's not forget. I think Ndombele would fit in right there perfectly. 2 dribbles a game last season, 1.2 key passes. He just needs a bit of love and confidence. And Naples is that funny kind of city where if he could get that, if he can win over the fans, then he really could accelerate there. So yeah, I like this move a lot. It clearly hasn't worked out at Spurs. It's quite a bit of a shame. That Spurs midfield's going in a different direction with Bentancur, etc. Højbjerg, I don't think he had much of a chance of getting game time in there, even with Skip around. But Napoli's business is now suddenly very exciting this season. I won't go into it too much, but we talked about it a bit last week. Giovanni Simeone, that's a great move for the money they're going to pay for him at the end of the run. Raspadori, €35 million deal, 10 goals last season. Absolutely love this. Only 22 as well, so that he could be a real main feature of that attack, the way we've seen Insigne and Mertens been in recent years as well. And Ivica Kvaratskhelia, I said I was so excited to see him last week. Goal and assist on his debut, big leap. Honestly, he's my player to watch out for this. I wasn't here for the predictions, but he's my player to watch out for this season. Someone messaged me from Georgia saying, you've got to watch this guy. He's unreal. And I'm super excited. Because I love it when a player kind of just emerges. Going from Ruben Kazan to Dinamo Batumi and now Napoli. I love that kind of journey for him. So yeah, I think Ndombele has an opportunity. I don't think this is like a game-changing transfer necessarily for the club, but I certainly think it puts Napoli in a much happier situation than they were a few weeks ago. I'm just amazed that it took them so long to get all this business done and sorted, because we're kind of rushing into the new season. I think Spalletti will be slightly relieved after what was a difficult few months.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only difficulty is with Tanguy Ndombele is he's walking into almost an entirely new side. Like they've lost sort of 6 or 7, of their first choice players, the legends of that team over the last few years. Particularly Insigne, Mertens, Koulibaly, less so Fabian Ruiz, although he has been very good for the last few seasons. But all these players, all these big names, all these big characters needing to be replaced. But as you say, looked excellent at the weekend. Oh no, I think it was on Monday actually, against Verona as well. And 5 different goal scorers as well. And I do think Ndombele, Lobotka, Zielinski and Gisa, that's a nice looking midfield. Like you can pick out all different combinations in there. Diogo Deme as well as a backup defensive midfielder as well. He probably needs to move on, to be honest. He hasn't really had a look in since moving from Leipzig. So I think I'm hotter on Napoli than I was, but I still don't think they'll potentially be good enough for 4th. I think Roma, there's a real movement around Roma at the moment. And I think they'll be difficult to stop in terms of 4th. Let's move on to Timo Werner to RB Leipzig, and this comes in from @Jadal. So obviously he's rejoined Leipzig just 2 years after leaving for Chelsea for a fee which was close to £50 million. They've got him back for around 25, and people forget that his record at Leipzig was absolutely insanely good. He got 96 goals and 40 assists in 160 games. He's still their all-time top scorer. And actually, I was looking back at his Chelsea stats, and I don't think anyone would ever call Timo Werner's time at Chelsea an outright success, but actually his numbers, they're not too bad. 23 goals and 21 assists in 89 games. That's 0.5 goal contributions per game. He just didn't really fit with Tuchel's slightly, slow, methodical, possession-based style. I think it really was unfortunate that they did change from Lampard to Tuchel during his first season. I know he had some great moments. He had a good game against Real Madrid in the Champions League last year in particular. I remember a phenomenal goal that he scored that people always gloss over Timo Werner's better moments because there was such a story that develops that he couldn't tuck away his easy chances. And in fairness, he didn't do it enough. I would never call it a success at Chelsea, but I don't think he's a terrible player. But from a Leipzig perspective, I think this is another exciting move that strengthens the forward line that actually looks really good. I think there might be an outgoing in their forward line before the end of the window, because you're looking at Nkunku, Werner, Andre Silva, Sorloth, Forsberg, Dani Olmo. There's so many options. Szoboszlai, of course, who got sent off at the weekend as well. So there are a lot of options there. But McCubbs, it's almost a little bit of a shame for Andre Silva because he was looking like he was going to be the main man this year up front with Nkunku, and now where does he sort of fit into all of this? It's a little bit of a weird one at the same time.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that they haven't got off to their start, have they? Only drawn their first 2 games. My outrageous prediction of them winning the Bundesliga already looks like it's in the mud. But yeah, I mean, it felt like, I don't know, it felt like this team was being built. Obviously, Andre Silva, his output increased massively after Tedesco came in last year. It felt like everything was geared towards him having a big season this season. Got in, one of the best wing backs, in terms of delivery. Those kind of deliveries into the box. I think we spoke about it before. Kind of what Andre Silva lived off at Frankfurt. I think Kostic assisted him 8 times in that season. It's pretty mad. So. It felt like everything was going for it, but at the same time, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I do still think that, say in a 3-4-3, I think Werner and Andre Silva and Nkunku could work together. I don't see that being necessarily a problem. It might prove to be. I'm not an expert on how to formulate an attack like that, but obviously, Nkunku usually comes in off the left, and that's where Timo Werner is, so maybe that would be a bit of an issue. But at the same time, I think that's a good problem for Leipzig to have if they want to challenge on multiple fronts throughout the season. But I still think Silva, is the main man at the top of that formation. So I don't think it's too big a worry. I think it will just take, they've had a fair amount of new signings this summer now, especially in terms of first team signings. I think it might just take a little bit of time for them to gel. But yeah, I'm pretty positive about this move, to be honest. I think, Werner will well, he already scored, hasn't he? So.
Well, I mean,
goalkeeping error, but yeah.
I wouldn't say it's down to his amazing ability. But yeah, it's just quickly, because we just included this, Pat and I, in the 10 most boring transfers of the summer.
Yeah. I was quite surprised by that, but...
I stand, but I don't think obviously it makes a lot of sense to go back to Leipzig, but you kind of want to see a little bit more potentially. What's smart about Leipzig is that Nkunku's probably going to leave next summer. I think it looks pretty much set in stone. So for them to get in a replacement of sorts now, a trusted German international replacement for what is a relatively short fee, is very smart. They've also signed Sesko as well from Red Bull Salzburg next summer. So in fairness to Leipzig, it's a very smart example of them once again bringing in replacements before they have their losses. They did that with Gvardiol and Simakan before they lost Konate and Upamecano. So it's smart from Leipzig. It's just a bit meh as far as I'm concerned, this transfer.
Fair enough. Henry Hill is a bit meh about Timo Werner back to Leipzig. What do you guys think? Do you think it can push them into title contention? My Cubs certainly hope so. Okay, next on the agenda is Luka Jovic, who has gone to Fiorentina, and this was suggested by @LFCLIJ. Now, I hope you guys have caught the highlights of Fiorentina's, quite frankly, mental game against Cremonese last weekend. It ended 3-2, ending the hopes of Cremonese getting a point on their return to Serie A, because Radu, the keeper who was in goal last year when Inter Milan, when he sort of butchered Inter Milan's title hopes with that sort of tragic own goal, was it? Or mistake against Bologna, I think it was. Anyway, he sort of carried the ball into his own net at the weekend, which meant Cremonese didn't get a point. But Luka Jovic did get a goal. And I think this is a really exciting signing. And he's part of a really young crop of forwards now that Italiano can call on. You know, you're looking at Jovic, who's 24, Cabral, who's 24 as well, Okone's 24, Nico Gonzalez, also 24, Christian Kouame, it's their favourite number, he's 24, and that's an exciting roster of forwards.
That is exciting.
That is exciting, and that is the perfect age to be sort of breaking into your prime. And Piontek's no longer at the club, which I don't think is too bad, and Fiorentina, last year, their form really dropped off after Vlahovic's exit to Juve. They finished with the 9th best attack, only 59 goals scored. There was a few in the sort of low 60s, so they weren't far off being a little bit higher than that. But Luka Jovic, we know what he can do if he gets a consistent run of games. He's already matched his goal tally in terms of league goals from last year, but he only got back 360 league minutes at Real Madrid. And we've talked about it before on this show. It's not a crime to not be as good as Karim Benzema, who's in Ballon d'Or form at the moment. So wish Luka Jovic all the best at Fiorentina. Great start for him. Whether he transforms them, less sure about, but will he be as good as Vlahovic? Probably unlikely, but at least they've got a better looking attack.
Really good finish, I thought.
Yeah, they've got a better looking attack than they did at the end of last year, which is all you can really ask for. Let's move on to Filip Kostic at Juve. This comes in from @HaroldFake McCubs. We've been talking about the left back area for Juve for a long, long time, but they did start Alexandro at the weekend. But do you think this is a good move for them?
I think it's an excellent move. I think if we're talking about transformative signings, this is one of them, okay, like he's not like super young, but like, that's not often an issue in Serie A, especially not at Juve, especially given their transfer business this summer. And 12 million euros, obviously he was coming into his final year at Frankfurt, 4-year deals, quite a big commitment, but at the same time, he's been one of the best wing backs in Europe, especially one of the best attacking wing backs in Europe for the last 3 years. 33 goals and 65 assists in 172 games for Frankfurt, and that, I mean, for anyone in that position at a club, that's impressive. But at a club like Frankfurt, which have rarely been Champions League quality over the last few years, it's really, really impressive. And we've spoken a lot about how important he was to that side. He's obviously a big loss to them as well. But like his goal and assist record is superb. His delivery as well, is among the best out there. Especially those kind of zipping balls across the box. I think Vlahovic will reap the rewards of that. And he fixes a problem which Juve have had for years now, which is that left side. And he's really versatile. Obviously, he can play at left back. He can play at on the left wing. If Allegri wants to go for a 3-5-2, which I feel like he probably will do at some points this season, given the kind of the kind of makeup of the side, the makeup of the squad, I feel like that will probably happen at points. But like you say, they played Alexandro at left back on the weekend, but I think it's only a matter of time until Kostic takes his place, or they play in a kind of 4-4-2 with Alexandro behind Kostic, which actually wouldn't be that big a problem, because Alexandro's main problem, I think, is the fact that he's lost a lot of pace. He just doesn't, he doesn't zip up and down the wing in the way that he used to. And I think if he was kind of instructed just to kind of sit a bit more, and for Kostic to do most of that running, and I feel like it would quite significantly kind of change kind of how they keep territory down that left-hand side. So I don't think that would be too big a problem. And Di Maria was it Di Maria playing off the right on the weekend? So like, I feel like there's actually, before I was kind of thinking Di Maria will probably play off the left. Will they get in the way of each other? How will that work exactly? even though I guess Di Maria likes to cut in quite a lot, so it probably wouldn't have been too bad. But I think this Juve team could be quite interesting to see what happens with it, because like with Di Maria, it started really well. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities there basically, and I know Allegri's not the most adventurous manager, but he's got a lot of options.
He does, definitely, in terms of formation as well. If they get Depay in as well, I think Depay and Vlahovic could work really well as an attacking duo. Depay sort of dropping a bit deeper, playing more of that creating role, and then Di Maria and a fit Federico Chiesa when he gets back, Kostic maybe off the left wing. But I just don't think that squad is quite suited to playing three at the back at the moment, because they've got so few centre-backs. It's Bonucci, Bremer, Rugani and Gatti are their centre-backs at the moment. So maybe they'll look to bring in a centre-back. I'm surprised they're not prioritising that over Paredes, at least before the window slams shut. But interesting one to keep an eye on there. Finally, before we move on to our big match predictions, which I'm very excited has returned, let's talk about the Bacon King. What a name suggestion of Noel Molina to Atletico Madrid. Henry, are you a fan of this?
Yeah, I think this is his third mention in 3 weeks.
Is it?
Molina?
Yeah.
He
dominates.
He's roaring in after a quiet year of Udinese. But no, I mean he was brilliant, isn't he? And you were really positive about this signing last week. And it was.
I thought you thought this was the Bacon King's
No.
3 weeks. I was like, he is dominating this show.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Molina, sorry. Right.
Bacon King, you could too if you keep contributing. But £18 million signing from Udinese. They really great side last year, Udinese. They scored loads of goals actually, even though they finished about 11th in Serie A. But they were attacking. That came from their wing backs. The other one, he's just been bought by Spurs as well.
Yeah,
he's gone back for a season, which is good for them. But yeah, it's what I like about this, and it's transformative in the way that it allows the rest of the team to start filling in the right positions once more. Marcos Llorente obviously had that insane season when they won the title, but the last season, I think he was a victim of his own versatility, really. Just sort of got slightly lost within that squad, played right back for a lot of points, and really didn't. It was so quiet last season for Llorente. So I'm hoping, and we saw that in sort of the 5-3-2, we saw him pushed into the midfield a little bit. The defence still looks slightly odd. They had Molina on the right wing back. They had Reinaldo filling in at just next to the centre back, and then I think Saul playing at left wing back as well. So it still could be patched up a little bit more.
They did score some cracking goals, though.
But they scored some great goals, and that's it. I mean, Morata, if he comes on song, that's a bonus no one saw coming. Griezmann, that's the kind of finish we used to see from him when he was in his peak. And actually, Griezmann's numbers last year were fine when he played. He was just injured for a lot of the season. So I think there's still a great player in there. I really hope they don't go after Cristiano Ronaldo. That seems like a really stupid idea. It really does. So, I like that from Molina. He had an all right game. I don't want to judge him too much based on this win against Getafe. 1 key pass, 1 dribble, 2 tackles and interceptions. Very excited about this. If I could quickly just say, Mafidela's suggestion, Johan Lepanent to Lyon. I mentioned him when we were talking about some of the best signings, and I said you just never know what Ligue 2 things they're going to bring up. I said Lyon had bought this bloke from Cayenne, 5'9" central midfielder, already being suggested as a transformative signing. That's great to see. He started in their opening game in the victory against Ajaccio last weekend. 94% pass accuracy, shot dribble, kind of everything we expected. And if they do lose Aouar, it's good to see that they've been smart, and I think it only cost about €4 million as well. So it's great to see that kind of little find. You're talking about the Premier League outspending the rest of their European rivals, and that is true, but that doesn't mean you still can't make smart signings. You still can't beat people to the punch of these things, and that's where Europe's become really smart at, I think, is finding the players before Europe really, because there's only so many scouts you can have out there. So this is great to see, and fingers crossed for Lyon. There's a massive season for Lyon, really massive season for Lyon this year. Yeah,
for sure. They've got a hell of an academy and a hell of a scouting network as well. They always do seem one step ahead. Guys, those are our shouts for transformative signings so far this summer. Who did we miss out, and who do you think will make the biggest impact at their new clubs? Let us know in the comments down below, and let's move on to big match predictions. So, Big Match Predictions is back for another year. You did it with our guest last week, actually, didn't you? But that did not count to the leaderboard. So this is the first week that counts towards the leaderboard. Henry and myself are the reigning champions. We shared the honour last year. We didn't actually get that trophy built in the end, but we should have. Maybe we will. Maybe some sort of WWE-style belt, actually. Shoot, that's a bit Star Wars.
That's very Star Wars,
you've got work to do.
I do have work to do.
You're known as Mystic Mike.
I know. Yeah.
Come on.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm a clean slate. Let's do this.
Okay.
Let's get lucky.
Well, on the topic of that, let's kick off with Atalanta versus AC Milan. All our games take place on Sunday night, so if you're not doing anything on Sunday night, get ready for an absolute football feast. Got it in there, football feast. The Cubs, Atalanta, AC Milan. I'll give you the honours as last year's loser, effectively. What do you see happening in this one?
I do wonder, first of all, if people actually know the significance of Football Feast. That's basically what Doogie has always wanted to call our Champions League live streams when they did happen. Hopefully we'll get them back on this season or at some point.
It made sense.
And no one else in the office wanted them. I was always a bit...
burgers.
Yeah, we used to eat burgers. Those are the days actually when we used to eat burgers on live stream, and everyone just used to hear us chomping down. Yeah,
that wasn't so nice.
Yeah, pretty nasty. But it's like ASMR, isn't it? Or mukbang ASMR content, which obviously you guys will want. Tenor wants to speak about Atalanta. They obviously they beat Sampdoria on the weekend, didn't they? I think they were kind of a little bit lucky. Samp had some really good chances, I thought, throughout the game. Yeah, but good to get points on the board early doors, especially when you're about to meet the reigning champions, and especially considering how bad the end of last season was. None of their new signings actually started. They've just signed right back Brendan Soppy from Udinese for 9 million as well. Former Rennes player, don't know much about him. But yeah, so it's a weird start to this season with Atalanta. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years, we've generally had them nailed on to finish in the Champions League spots. We've always been kind of hopeful that they might be able to put up a title challenge as well, especially after kind of 2019-20 when they kind of went far in the Champions League and they were really, what was it like? They were averaging about 98 goals a season, weren't they, in Serie A? It was really quite ridiculous. So obviously I think this is the first year where there's not been that much expected of them. I think a kind of top 7, top 8 finish will be fine for them, which is a little bit depressing given their kind of rise and in Italian football. But it was good to see Ademola Lookman get on the score sheet. Obviously, kind of got last kick of the game, sealed the win.
Finish as well.
Really good. And for a player who has he's struggled to make his mark at a number of clubs over the years, despite having been hyped up since he was a teenager. Having said that, I thought Milan looked really, really good against Udinese. I kind of forgot about Ante Rebic. They've actually got quite really good options up front now. Like he was just injured for all of last season and kind of forgot that he was actually a very useful striking option for them the campaign before, and he looked really sharp. Actually, Brahim Diaz I thought looked really, really sharp as well.
He was our star of the week.
Yeah, oh really? Okay, there you go. Clearly didn't watch ERU, but sorry about that.
No respect.
but it's good because he was not getting. He was getting a lot of criticism before the end of last season, and actually he started last season really brightly as well. Hopefully he can build on that as well. So I think, I think Milan will have too much for them, I'm afraid.
Nice.
Yeah.
Score prediction.
I will go for. I'll go for 3-1 Milan.
Woohoo! Yeah. What a way to start. Okay, Henry, you in agreement with that? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, you basically covered it all there. Fine. No, we discussed Milan last week, and I think they surprised certainly us and how adventurous they were going forward, which was great to see. And once they get some, I mean, that's good because it takes a bit of pressure off. De Ketelaere, for example, having to hit the ground running, they can ease them into that process, which is great as well. So yeah, what a result for them. I'm not as sure they're going to roll over Atalanta in the same way. They've been able to hit the reset button, as you said, after a difficult end to the campaign. I'm going to go for 1-0 Milan. Basically, it was everything I predicted last year as they run the title. So and it's a good one, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's a draw. But yeah, as I said, shout out to Lookman. Really hope that I really hope it works for him out there. And for €9 million, I think that's really good. I think that's really good for him. He was amazing when he was at Fulham, and I thought he did pretty well at points at Leicester last season. €9 million, I think that's a bit of a snip.
He's had a kind of weird career, hasn't he? As in, he was at Everton as well. He was at Leipzig. Yeah. He's been at a lot of clubs for someone who's not that old. But yeah, best of luck to him. It was we'll see how Atalanta do as their new signings get integrated as well. They spent a lot on Edison. Mera Demiral's now there on a permanent deal as well. I would have thought Milan might make one more signing before the window closes as well. They still haven't sorted out that right wing. De Ketelaere can play there, but maybe they might go in there. And they've been linked with a midfielder as well from Midtjylland as well, who I don't know anything about, called Rafael Onyedika. So if there's any Danish football fans watching, then please let us know. He's a 21-year-old Nigerian international, or Nigerian player, I should say. Very young central midfielder. So maybe that's another rotation option for Benacer, Tonali, etc. Kessie obviously having left this summer as well. So in terms of this game, I might go quite simple. I think it might just be 2-1 AC Milan. 2-1 AC Milan, there we have it. Can't take it back. Right, let's move on to game number 2. Lille versus PSG, Sunday night, 7:45 as well. So kicking off at the same time as this game. We've talked loads about PSG in the last few weeks and the Mbappe-Neymar saga and this new formation and how Galtier is doing a good job and how hopefully it's not destabilised with this whole thing. But Lille, Henry, have actually started quite well under Paulo Fonseca.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised, in all honesty. But yeah, 4-1 victory over Auxerre on the opening day. 1-1 draw with Nantes match day 2, which at this point Nantes are flying. They're doing really well. Still got some excellent players in that side. So that's a really solid result as well. And they dominated Nantes, it must be said. 16 shots, 5 on target. Alban Lafont was in inspired form.
Yeah.
Really good keeper, actually, Lafont. He's
Fantastic.
one to watch. He was excellent last season.
I don't know why he's at Nantes. No disrespect to Nantes, but
yeah, they've got one of the lowest wage bills in Ligue 1. I was reading about it. So yeah, it's they've done well to sort of hold on to the players they've got too. I really like Moses Simon. Really big fan of him. Anyway, we're not talking about Nantes. Yeah, Lille's keeper's only tested once. So they've got in a guy, Ishmaeli. He's signed on a free from Shakhtar. If you watch the Explained, you'll see that not many clubs have been very respectful towards Shakhtar.
yeah.
So yeah, and I like, if they get Ludovic Blatt as well, that's an unbelievable signing. He's been one of the kind of standout players from Nantes in the past few years. So he scored 10, assisted 5 last term. So it's suddenly looking very positive for Lille. Not positive, I think if they can get Conference League this year, I think that would be a real result for them. I think that's where they should maybe be looking. But so much turnover on that side. They've still got a few players from that championship winning squad that I was reading about as well. I think they've still got Font in the middle. They've still got Jonathan Bamber, etc. as well. So it's not all doom and gloom. Yazici still going.
Benjamin
Andre as well. Yeah. So yeah, there's still a little bit of the core of that team that knows what they're doing. So we'll see. I'm not holding out them much hopes in this game though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Jocelyn Gourvenec was such a weird appointment last season. It just didn't really work, and it was a really flat year. Difficult to obviously retain or emulate what they did the season before. But Paulo Fonseca did a reasonable job at Roma. Like, people forget, like, his at least in an attacking sense, they were really quite good. They conceded far too many goals. I think they ended up with pretty much a goal difference that was not very different. It was pretty much negligent. And they got battered in some of the bigger games as well. But in an attacking sense, you know, Roma were pretty good under him. And they didn't have the same investment that Mourinho's had in the last 2 seasons as well. So fair play to him. Best of luck at Lille. Jonathan David looks like he's enjoying his football again on the right-hand side as well. So we'll see. In this game, I can only really see a PSG victory. I think they are playing exceptionally well at the moment. I'm going to go 3-0. The Cubs, what are you thinking?
I don't know. Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed watching their highlights against Nantes. I must admit, with Lille, it's great to see them playing. They're just playing really good football already under Fonseca. Yeah, like Henry, I'm quite surprised at how quickly they've kind of adapted to his style of play. But yeah, I mean, Neymar's on fire, isn't he? He seems to just be doing everything at the moment.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah, that diving header, eh? Oh, love it.
Bravery.
Yeah.
From Nene.
So yeah, I think I'm going to be sensible. And I'm going to go with you guys. I'm going to go for a PSG. I kind of want to see Lille take some points off PSG, but at this stage of the season, I need to be sensible and just keep pace. So I'm going to go. I'm going to 2-0.
2-0. What did you say, Henry?
I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1. Okay. Obviously, there'll also be a big storyline about Galtier going back to Lille, of course. And I think PSG players, you know, they strike me as being quite petty. Some people in the dressing room. I'm sure they'll be quite motivated to beat the side that beat them the year before last to the title. Let's wrap up with Real Sociedad versus Barcelona. Sunday night at 9 p.m. Both of these sides got off to, well, actually no, Real Sociedad got off to a good start. Barcelona a bit flat, Macabs. What do you see happening in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Barcelona put away, you know, Barcelona could have easily just put away 2 or 3 of their chances against Vallecano and won. They, you know, 2 quite marginal offsides as well.
I like Lewandowski's chipped finish for the offside.
Yeah, lovely. Well. Like, I mean, it's no less than you expect from him, really. I don't know. I think Barcelona looked generally quite strong. I think Vallecano have a bit of a hoodoo over them, beat them twice last season. And you know, maybe that had something to do with it. No, I think it was just one of those games where it didn't quite go for them. And I think Vallecano are a decent team as well. So yeah, I do think Barcelona will probably win this game potentially quite comfortably. Sociedad, it was good to see Kubo, win the game for Sociedad the other day. Obviously, he's not had the easiest couple of years. I think there's a really quality player in there. He's still incredibly young.
He's been passed around everyone.
Yeah, and he was really good. I think his first year at Mallorca, he was fantastic, and since then it's not really happened for him.
I was quite surprised that he managed to land at a club as sort of established as Sociedad.
Yeah, but I think Sociedad is one of those clubs that does give chances to those kind of players, doesn't it? And it's not like he has to be like a key player for them all year, but on the basis of that Cadiz game where he obviously scored the winner and nearly created one for David Silva as well. He looked, I don't know, he just looked like he was really enjoying himself, kind of getting in behind that defence. So he'll be hoping maybe for Barcelona, for a few of those chances against Barcelona. I think it probably could happen. Barcelona's defence, has had a record of letting people in behind over the last kind of year or so, even also Xavi. Yeah, Busquets obviously got sent off. I do think that was actually quite harsh, that sending off. I must admit, not even just from a Kool-Aid perspective, I thought that was a bit mad. But Busquets does, he is a bit of a master of the dark arts. I wouldn't put it past him if it was deliberate. It didn't feel like deliberate to me. But yeah, I think Barcelona will win this quite comfortably. I just think that forward line is incredibly stacked, and if it's 0-0 or even 1-0 to Sociedad after 55 minutes, then Xavi can just renew that forward line, can't he? And there will be a way through. So yeah, I think I'll go for 2-0 Barca.
That's the thing, with the lack of spending throughout La Liga, Barcelona's forward line, they can just completely change a game at 60 minutes and just bring on forwards that are not really a massive drop-off, particularly in the wide areas. I think Lewandowski to Aubameyang's probably the biggest one, but even Aubameyang's a great penalty box operator. But on the wings, Rafinha, Ousmane Dembele, it's not too bad. Ansu Fati, Aubameyang on the left, it's a pretty good way up, basically, whoever comes on and off. So yeah, I can see them making a lot of impact towards the end of games. Henry, what are your thoughts on this one, score-wise? What are you thinking?
Just quickly, we included Ali Cho in a script about players that don't make sense, transfers that don't make sense, and I was surprised to see that. His, although he didn't get loads of goals and assists for Angers last season, expected goals and assists were massive. He was really exciting for 18, and great to see him have a good debut game. Last season, almost scored twice. He 18 years old, looks really active. So excited to see how Ali Cho gets on.
Got some pace about
next year, and I think it is a good move to Real Sociedad. I think they're a good family. There's something about the Basque Country up there that really sucks people in, and they're a proper club. So all for that. I think I went for a draw last weekend. I'm going for a draw again. I think Sociedad are a better team than Barcelona, and they're hosting them. I think it's always a good opportunity to rub.
Wait, you think they're a better team than Barcelona?
Sorry, than Vallecano.
I was about to say that is the long shot of the episode.
Sociedad are a better team. What did I say? No, they're a better team than Vallecano.
They come to give me a little side eye, and I was like, did I hear that true?
No, I didn't say that. I think they might have a better coach.
On record now.
They might have a better coach, in all honesty. But yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1. I'm going to go for 1-1. But I wouldn't be shocked if Sociedad pinch all 3 points.
But I just think the pressure will be so high on Barcelona. I can't remember who Real Madrid got this weekend, but after that last, well, it wasn't the last minute, but that win against Almeria with that David Alaba free kick, just about putting them in the driving seat in these very early stages. There's been one game, it's not really a driving seat per se, but Barcelona are under pressure to get the 3 points here. I think they'll do it. What did you say, score?
I said 2-0.
Boringly, I might go 1-0 Barcelona. I think it will be a bit scrappy, but there we have it. Guys, get your predictions for all those 3 games in the comments down below. And let's very quickly just do a quick fire question, because they were quite nice and actually quite romantic, these ones.
Summary.
At Alec_LFC says, when was the last time you saw a world-class sunset? Not just a class one, a world-class one. Henry, have you seen some nice ones in recent weeks? It's been very sunny here.
Yeah, I mean, where I go on holiday, where my dad's from, in the Channel Islands. I don't really.
Are you changing nationality to Alderney?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's because there's no light pollution. It's exceptional, and we had this dinner out on this old German fort overlooking the sun. It's It's pretty cool,
That
but you
does
kind of
sound
have to be there. I mean, it's only so much I can say about it. Like, you kind of have to be there to see it.
Paint a
But it
picture.
was, calm seas. There, you can see the tides.
The red moving to the orange into the yellow.
No, it's nice. But yeah, love a good sunset. What a summer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
McCubs, you found a nice hill near you, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a hill actually quite near here,
live
which
near
has,
a hill?
there's a hill actually quite near to this pub, which has what I think is the best view in London. You get some pretty good sunsets there, but I mean, we've all been on holiday recently, and yeah, like, I mean, I was in Croatia back in July, and the sunsets there were pretty special because I mean, I wasn't in like out like in an island right in the middle of the sea like you were, Dukes, but I was kind of in that area of Croatia. I don't know if you noticed it, but the sun goes down and then you just have an hour of like red sky afterwards. You like it's so slow.
It's very romantic.
And it's lovely. So yeah, that's probably the last world-class sunset I saw was in Croatia. We went to like this restaurant and it was just in this little like town on a little kind of covey bit, and it was it's one of the nicest towns I've ever been to. It was just so nice.
Love it.
And yeah, it was quite romantic in some ways.
I like it. I like it. We've had our weekly police visit now, just outside the EDT. My best sunset that I've seen recently probably was in Croatia, but aside from that, you do get really nice sunsets in Scotland actually, because it stays lighter a lot later. Easy for you to say. It gets dark at like in the summer, sort of 10:30, and yeah, you get some lovely long sunsets up there. I was at my cousin's wedding in Inverness earlier this summer, and that was a beautiful sunset on a romantic day. But yeah, guys, let us know in the comments. What was the best sunset you've seen recently? From all around the world, let us know in the comments. And that's all we've got time for on Continental Club for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Let us know what you guys thought about our transformational signings, our big match predictions, etc., etc. Henry, what do you recommend they go watch?
Are we on Stat Wars this week? Is that us?
I think we might be.
Yes.
I think we might be. Yeah.
All right, check
Get
that
ready.
out. We've got Stat Wars coming back. McCubbin versus me. Me versus McCubbin.
What's your first ever time in the spaceship?
It is.
So
it is.
go and watch.
What a trip. So
It was.
That was good fun.
It was pretty mad.
Yeah, Stat Wars, incredibly exciting. Henry's debut, one to get excited for, 10 a.m. tomorrow. And if you want to hear more about any of the stories we've been talking about today, why don't you click on this QR code on the screen right now. Have a great weekend, guys. Look after yourselves, and we'll catch you next week.